Welcome back to the Impact Lounge. You are in the number one place to be for the Impact Wrestling fan. This is the Cool Factor Podcast. I'm your host, TW, and with me, of course, is the main man at the Impact Lounge, BQ. Say what's up to the people.
Yo, what's up? Let me just cut to the chase here. Did Josh Matthews do the commentary for Victory Road?
Did Josh Matthews do? You know what? No, Matt Striker did it.
Okay.
Matt Striker.
I just cut to the chase, dude. I just cut through all the small talk. Is like this episode of Impact comes on. I'm like, why do I hear Josh Matthews right now?
Yeah.
Which to his credit, he sounded fine in the episode. It wasn't that big of a deal. But every time I just randomly hear his voice, I get kind of worried because usually at least Matt Striker he'll say something. You know, he has a prior engagement. He'll do something. You know, but he just called this show like he does it every single week.
Right.
I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But with that being said, he brings out a much more natural side in D'Lo than Matt Striker does. I think Matt Striker is better than Josh, but when Josh is on commentary with D'Lo does not sound like he's reading off a piece of paper. Like there's just something about their chemistry where just loose, just kind of let it free, let it flow. So,
you know, I almost never notice the announcers until you mention something. Now, normally that's probably because I'm usually doing 5 things at once. So like when I'm watching Impact, I'll like have Impact on while I'm writing something for work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
While I'm trying to make sure my daughter's not killing my son or my son's not killing my daughter, or, like I'm usually doing like 5 things at once. So I usually don't notice the announcers, but once you mention it, it's like you can't unsee it, you know? So yeah. Before we go any further, everybody watching this video, hit the like button. Hit the like button right now. We want to get this video up over, let's set a goal. What do you say? 100 likes?
Let's do it.
100 likes. We want to get this video up over 100 likes. So if you are watching this video, we are trying to get this video up over 100 likes. So before we go any further, just go ahead and click that like button.
All right.
Good. All right. So not gonna bury the lead here. We just finished Victory Road, and Victory Road put a lot of questions to bed. It put a lot of speculation to rest. A big thing that I had been wondering, that I had been thinking about, that I had been speculating on for months was who was going to be the person to bring the World Championship back to Impact. Of course, we thought it was going to be Moose. Moose had this great run, probably like a 2-year streak where he didn't lose on pay-per-view until he started losing every match on pay-per-view. And then he was kind of out of the picture. And then slowly but surely, they just started putting matches in the bank for Josh Alexander. Great match after great match after great match. And I was like, wait a minute. Wouldn't it be cool if Kenny Omega ran through everybody and then Josh Alexander ran through everybody and then there was nobody left but those two, and then Josh Alexander became the man to dethrone Kenny Omega, bring the World Championship back to Impact, and now he's the hood ornament. Now he's the star of the show. He's certified, matches in the bank. He's got receipts, and you're going on tour with Josh Alexander as your world champion. And then Tony Khan decided that they needed to make a main event out of Christian Cage and what's this guy's name? Kenny Omega. So Christian Cage won the title off Kenny Omega, and I actually like Christian Cage as champion. Okay. But Kenny Omega is a bigger name. And what we got tonight was Christian Cage having a really good match against Ace Austin. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to see it. It was a good match. And at the conclusion of the match, Josh Alexander came out and he held the X Division title in the air and he said, "Bound for Glory, option C." So there's your Bound for Glory main event for Sam's Town Casino. It's gonna be
big venue.
Josh Alexander relinquishing the X Division Championship to challenge Christian Cage for the Impact World Championship. BQ, what do you think about this?
The legendary Sam's Town Casino. Let me ask this question first. This is the reason I don't like Option C. Why doesn't every X Division champion cash it in?
Right.
That's what doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
Like Ace Austin was a 2-time champion. Like at some point when you have the second run, it's like, am I just gonna run around with this title forever? Why not just cash it in? I don't really get that. So
originally, the way that I thought this was going to be, and I think this is what was said about it. I think that the original way it was presented was that every year, whoever is the X Division champion at Destination X would have the opportunity to relinquish the title and challenge for the world championship. I love that. And because again, it gives some consistency to the calendar. Like it can't be understated. It can't be overstated how important it is that the Royal Rumble kicks off the road to WrestleMania, right? Mm-hmm. Like it cannot, as a fan, even if you're a fan who's getting to a stage in your life where you just can't keep up with wrestling every week, you know that if I tune into WWE from January to April, I'm going to get the best of the year. I am, because they are building up for a stadium show that they need to sell out, 50,000 tickets. So they're going to put on their best stories for that 4-month period. Okay. And so having consistent storylines and a consistent calendar would go so far towards, just building brand loyalty for Impact Wrestling. If people just know that every year Destination X is in September and whoever has the X Division title is going to be cashing that in for the shot at the world title in September, that should be they should have the consistent, whatever it is, right? Now, granted, Josh Alexander has had the X Division title, for a long time. It's not like he just got it,
right?
But they shouldn't, if it's not going to be at Destination X every year, it needs to be a rule like
at Bound for Glory,
like at Bound for Glory, or a certain amount of title defenses. Like if you make it to 10 title defenses, 10 successful X Division title defenses, then you can choose to continue defending the X Division title, or you can, cash that in for an opportunity at the world title.
So that's what the NWA does with their TV championship. You have once you have 7 successful defenses, and no one's ever done it, but once you have 7 successful title defenses, you have the option to wrestle for the world title.
Yeah. See, I think that's dope. Right. So because automatically once you become the champion, it gives you a storyline, right? Mm-hmm. Can this person make to 7 successful title defenses? What would this person look like as a champion? All that stuff. That's so good. That is so good.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think one of the things that wrestling in general kind of struggles with is, okay, what's the next story? And then, you have to, that's why you change out, bookers every now and then, because people kind of run out of stories, right? And you end up retelling the same stories over and over. Like, it's funny, when I noticed that Bruce Pritchard, was back in Vince McMahon's ear, I started noticing some rehashing of, some storylines in like WWE. Like, for example, they did something where somebody took the Intercontinental title and went away and then came back with the title. So now they had to have a match for to see who's the real Intercontinental champion. And I was like, oh, this is the Shawn Michaels
and Razor
90s. So it just is what it is. So to have a plot device like that, it totally makes sense because it's the story that people already know, but you don't have to tell it that way. Like you said, NWA has the rule with the 7 title defenses with the television title, but nobody's ever done it, right? So That in and of itself is the story. Can you get to 7, right? And then do you keep it, or do you, or do you relinquish it for a chance to move up? So I think you're right. There has been a lack of consistency with the option C plot device. And I think they should do it because it's one of the, few things that Impact has that's like, original. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things that I think people would, who watch Impact and watch other shows, relate to Impact and not like say this is some version of, like, remember they did the Feast or Fire? We're like, oh, we're going to give you 4 Money in the Bank briefcases.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, they should have some more consistency with the option C story.
And if you're not going to have, well, actually Destination X is a thing again, because that's an Impact Plus show. So, well, it was last year. I think that's where they did the Super X Cup Championship or Super X Cup tournament, where he won the little trophy that you give your employees at work when they had a good week, number one employee. It's funny, the Chelsea Green's trophy when she won the NWA thing was like 5 times the size of that Impact one.
Wow.
I was just like, good God, dude.
Oh, that's right. Ace Austin won this, right?
Yeah. So, I would say it is something you can do it Destination X, or you can do it Hard to Kill or Rebellion. It wouldn't make sense Bound for Glory. I know I said that earlier, but that's one of your top 2 shows, and the chances of someone who holds the X Division Championship being worthy of a headline of Bound for Glory is pretty slim, Yeah. So I was thinking, we had this conversation last week that the plan was most likely for Josh Alexander to beat Kenny Omega.
Yeah.
Because if you go back to January, when I think Hard to Kill was, he wrestled Rich Swann, and that's when the whole plan was laid out. But AEW didn't know that CM Punk was coming. They didn't know that Daniel Bryan was coming.
Right.
These guys. And I think once they knew that these guys were on their radar, they found an easy out with Christian, because it did help that feud for him to get a win over Kenny. Otherwise, no one would have really cared about that main event because he knew Christian wasn't going to win.
Yeah.
We talked about that. But I think once they knew, okay, we've got some big time stars incoming.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so at I don't know, I think it's Dynamite next week. It's Kenny Omega versus Daniel Bryan. Like,
yeah,
they knew we can't do Kenny Omega versus Daniel Bryan in the middle of Kenny Omega's the Impact Wrestling champion storyline, because win or lose at Daniel Bryan, at that point, once he's wrestling the caliber of Daniel Bryan, like Tony Khan is probably like, yo, we can't have someone from Impact beating Kenny Omega. Like, now his programs, he has a potential to be doing much bigger programs than we initially thought he was going to be doing. There's a difference between he's feuding with Christian, he's feuding with Adam Page, compared to now he's feuding with Daniel Bryan. Like, that's just we're in a different ballpark at this point. So, I really felt that, winner, like, I'm just saying, you're talking about Bryan, I keep calling him Daniel Bryan, Bryan Danielson. Win or lose against him, like, it wouldn't be a good look for Kenny to lose to someone at Impact around that time. So it would have probably continued to him holding the damn title for even longer than we would have liked him to. So I think that's just what I'm thinking. I think that way of thinking came into play here a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think you're totally right. If you're Tony Khan, you have done a great job of protecting your assets, right? With Kenny Omega, and not having him ever lose on Impact,
Yeah.
and they did a great job of protecting Kenny Omega. So I don't doubt that line of thinking at all. I don't doubt that line of thinking at all. They're like, okay, yeah, you're gonna get your title back, but you're not getting it off Kenny Omega. So
right.
I don't, it is what it is. It is what it is. Like I said, from a kayfabe standpoint, AEW dumped on Impact, right? From a wrestling viewpoint, AEW dumped on Impact. But from a currency, from a relevancy standpoint, AEW helped Impact tremendously. Like when Kenny Omega, Don Callis said Impact Wrestling on Access TV on TNT at the end of a title change on Dynamite. Okay, that's more publicity than Impact Wrestling has gotten, more positive publicity than Impact Wrestling has gotten in the wrestling world in the years that I can remember watching it. And like I said, he drove everybody to Impact to do that big number for Kenny Omega's appearance. And so, oh, and by the way, the pay-per-views with Kenny Omega, Rich Swann, I think there was another one, the one where they did the 6-man, like those were like some of the biggest pay-per-view buys Impact has had in a very long time. So Impact absolutely got a great deal, you know, contrary to popular belief. Like, again, I get it. I understand from a storyline standpoint. Yes, AEW Little Broad Impact so badly. I get it, and I don't disagree with it. But from a business standpoint, Impact got this huge. You know what I mean? Like huge. Like you cannot deny. So I mean, look, that was the exchange. That was the exchange. The exchange was you lend us an attraction and we will, you know, lick your balls. Like, I don't know.
and I stand corrected. I had said, can you beat Rich Swann at Hard to Kill? It was at Rebellion, I believe.
Yeah.
So I stand corrected on that. I forgot that the 6-man match happened at that point. But the partnership gave, and I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago before I make my point. They did the same thing to New Japan. New Japan is 0-3 on Impact. I mean, on Dynamite. All right. Against Jon Moxley. So Jon Moxley has run through 3 of New Japan's top stars, you know, anytime they've done a talent exchange. So, but what it gave Impact was a sense of relevancy that it didn't have in a long time. You know, I've made the comments before about it felt like Impact was just on their own island. Yeah. No one wanted to acknowledge them, nothing. And that has changed quite a bit. And even this past episode of Rampage, they didn't name drop Impact, but they said, you know, the Lucha Brothers and Santana Ortiz have had historic matches against one another. Well, that's only happened in one place.
Right.
Even when Kiera Hogan was on, they said, well, she's a tag team specialist. Like, they're still acknowledging a wrestler's past without acting like they came straight out of the indies like they would have done before. So
absolutely,
it gave them a sense of relevancy that they haven't had in a while.
And even the people who are arguing with me, you know, about how bad this relationship is for Impact, when else are you talking about Impact? Nobody else. I mean, you know, people say, "Oh, I talk about Impact." Yeah, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You know what I mean? You could say you talk about Impact. You ain't talking about Impact. So, you know, the fact that you are talking about Impact, even though it's in this capacity, Impact's winning. They're getting the currency. You know what I mean? Like the way people look at social media, they look at like mentions. Okay. And even if Impact is getting mentioned going, oh, AEW is dumping on Impact. If 4 million people tweet AEW is dumping on Impact, that's still 4 million impressions of the word Impact. Okay. Like it's a win. No matter how much you guys don't want to admit it, because Impact is the stinky kid in the cafeteria, it's still a win. The stinky kid in the cafeteria got a Gucci jacket this time. Okay. So say what you want. It is what it is. So thoughts on Josh Alexander Bound for Glory? You think they're gonna pull the trigger and he's gonna bring the title back?
Yeah, 100%. There's no reason he would lose. I think I've enjoyed Christian as a champion. He's been a pretty proud champion to have the Impact title. I have enjoyed everything he's just done on the television screen. He showed up on Dynamite last week without the title, which was kind of odd, but he'd always worn it otherwise. But yeah, so I don't know what that was about. It was a backstage segment, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it was just kind of odd. But he's been a good champion, and I think it is the time to for Impact to create that star. Be like, yo, this is the dude we're going forward with, because we've had the conversations about, you know, Trey Miguel. He's middling in the in the mid card. You know, he should be in an X Division title program. How come he didn't have a match with Josh Alexander and all this?
Right.
And then Jake, something we haven't heard from since he lost to Josh Alexander a month ago. We haven't seen or heard from. So there's some dudes on this roster that we're like, hey, you can really do something with. and it's not happening, you know.
Right.
This is the opportunity to really create someone special to be your champion.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
think
and by
he's
the
doing
way,
it for sure.
the creation is going. It's not like hey, this match is going to make him like this run for the X Division title has been phenomenal, phenomenal. Like I'm telling you guys, if you guys have not seen the match, just go look at the matches he's been having. Look at the Iron Man match. Look at the match he had with Jake something. Look at the match he had tonight against oh my god, Chris Sabin. Like, yo, Josh Alexander has been putting in work and he's been putting bangers in the bank. Like, and if you pay attention when he comes out, the crowd responds to them. Like Impact Wrestling, why I think they're probably selling themselves short by not trying to play some bigger venues. They have something right now where the people who are there are excited about their product. And I keep, I'm saying that, but they know what the response is, what the ticket request is, when they're doing tapings at Skyway Studios every week. You know what I mean? So, they know if they were turning away 200 people for every taping, they probably might have a better sense, a better idea that they could go on the road. But I don't know, man. It's little things like the people singing Eddie's theme song. And when Josh Alexander comes out, like the pop is genuine. The walking weapon chants are genuine. When Deonna Purrazzo comes out, you know what I mean? Like the reaction is genuine. And so I think they have something that they have not had in a while, which is they have an audience that's making the wrestlers feel important.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is reason enough that you want to try to expand and just get this in front of more people. So to everybody who is going to these shows at Skyway Studios, keep it up, man. Y'all are making this product feel so much better, so much more important than it did even before the pandemic, honestly. Even before the pandemic, those fans, they weren't as active as you guys are being right now. And right now, you guys are, you're chanting and whatever and singing and doing all that stuff. And it makes Impact feel like so much more fun. So kudos to the fans. And yeah, to answer the same question I asked you, I do think they do it. I think they pull the trigger, and I think Bound for Glory is Josh Alexander's time. And, we'll see if that can translate into a buy rate.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know how much it's gonna translate. I don't want to downplay Josh Alexander at all, but from a content creator standpoint, I had to convince this of Lewis when he was doing a lot of content for the channel. He used to like to do a lot of Josh Alexander content.
Yeah.
And anything with his face on it, or the North, even him and Ethan Page together, or anytime it was the lead, we consistently did the lowest numbers on the videos. So I don't know. I'm hoping that's going to change a little bit as far as because I mean he's been putting on such great matches now. I think we view him differently, but I don't know that it's going to be much of a needle mover, but it's going to be a good step in the right direction of trying to create your own star, because you can look at everyone who's had a title outside of I shouldn't say that. I was going to say everyone's come from WWE, been a world champion, but that's not necessarily true, because Tessa had a title, Brian Cage had a title, so that's not necessarily true. But typically, whether it's Rich Swann, Sami Callihan, Alberto El Patron, Austin Aries, which I think he was a champion before he came, but they tend to put the belt around someone who has a certain name value. So this will be very, very different for them to do. Yeah. But it's going to be like very refreshing at the same time. Because imagine these amazing matches we've been getting for the X Division Championship. Imagine getting that for the world title. Like, yeah, that's going to be, I mean, it could be very interesting.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I think that, again, like, you have the opportunity to make a homegrown star. And just like you just rattled off the list of previous champions, when's the last time Impact has done that? You know, like I've been banging the drum for them to do that with Chris Bay, but they're doing it with Josh Alexander. And so this is someone who Impact fans can identify as, you know, one of our guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they can get behind this guy. And so, you know, what they need to do is he needs to have like a Superman run. You know, he needs to have like a Superman run. He needs to plow through guys. He needs to beat guys from other companies, if possible, or if you're bringing in new guys, right? Because, you know, we've heard they were negotiating with Braun Strowman, and like I'm not saying bring in Braun Strowman and just let Josh Alexander beat him like on night one, but if Josh Alexander is your homemade champion and you bring in Braun Strowman and let Braun Strowman beat Josh Alexander, first of all, I wouldn't put it past them at all.
At all.
Would not put it
First
past
night in the company, yeah.
But again, I think that's one of those things where if you're Impact, you know, this is almost like a fresh start. This is almost like a fresh start. Like, think of when, you know, they did Kurt Angle, such a big free agent signing, and then, you know, Samoa Joe. Like I said this before, I'll say it again. You look at AEW, right? How MJF has beaten Chris Jericho so many times, and then they finally let Chris Jericho get a win. But it's clearly established that MJF got the better of Chris Jericho. Right. If you're going to do any WWE guy, I don't care, Braun Strowman, Bray Wyatt, anybody, it needs to be that. Josh Alexander wins and wins again and maybe wins again, and then the person can get one, okay? But you need to establish that Josh Alexander, he is top tier. You have to. You have to. This is the first chance you've had in a very long time to establish an Impact guy on the big stage, on the world stage, in the eyes of everyone. Because once he takes that title off Christian Cage, who took it off Kenny Omega, people are going to be checking for that a little bit. So again, if you're about to bring in more WWE guys, he needs to be beating those guys. And for that, we're just not going to go. So putting to bed the Josh Alexander thing, what else outside of the ring were you interested in this week?
Well, we can talk about the Tommy Dreamer thing. We don't have to go into detail about what was said and everything. I haven't watched the episode yet. I do watch Dark Side of the Ring. I just have not seen this episode. And what I had said on Twitter was that so I feel like I don't want to say misinformed. I don't have all the information. I don't feel fully informed yet. From what I read on whatever website I went to, I was waiting like, well, okay, there's got to be more to this, because from what I read and I said on Twitter, I probably took this maybe I took it all out of context, didn't understand the totality of it. From what I read, I said, I don't understand what he said that was so wrong. That is not me condoning any kind of behavior whatsoever, because I'm admitting I haven't seen the episode. It's very different when you're reading some words. Right. It's just like a text, right? When you send someone a text, you don't really, it comes across different just when you're just reading compared to when you're talking to somebody. And just based off what I read, I didn't hear the tone of his voice. I don't even know the full story for the most part of what the episode was about. So based off of that, I didn't understand why he was suspended. I've always been like, get Tommy Dreamer off television. This isn't really the way I wanted to see it happen. I just wanted them to see them admit. Right. Thank me for this. No, I wanted to get him off my television, but I wanted it to be because Impact was like, wait, we need to stop putting Tommy Dreamer on television. Not, we have to. I made a joke on Twitter that he'll probably still main event Impact next week. He'll still find a way. But no, in all seriousness, I'm starting to understand the story a little bit more as time progresses and everything. But at the time I read it, I was like, I don't really understand why he's being suspended. Not to say he didn't do or say anything wrong, but I will say this: when the whole Me Too movement was going on, whatever the hell they called it in wrestling, you know, AEW had a few
speaking out.
Okay, so AEW had a few people who were on that list, and they they took him off TV for a while. They publicly said, "Hey, they're going through sensitivity training," because that's just a PR move. It's sticking behind your guys, but still making a PR move.
Yeah.
And Impact got rid of all their guys. And right away here, I just see Tommy. It seems like they just like, okay, well, suspend Tommy Dreamer, and I can't totally say that was the right call yet because, again, I gotta watch the episode. But you probably have more to say about it because you've seen it or you saw the clips at least. You've seen enough to have a more educated opinion on it than what I have. But I would have liked to see them handle it a different way. Personally, I didn't think really outright just, hey, he's not coming to work anymore. I mean, I don't know, but I mean,
so similar to you, when I saw Tommy Dreamer was trending, I was like, interesting, right?
He won the title, yeah.
And I'm like, why is Tommy Dreamer trending? Right?
Yeah.
And then I'm looking and I'm seeing some stuff, and like the problem with Twitter is it's all blurbs, right? It's all blurbs and excerpts and outtakes and opinions, and you're not getting a chance to form your own opinion because everything you're seeing is based off someone else's opinion, right?
Yeah.
And similar to what you said, I saw somebody posted a quote of what he said, and I read that, and I'm like, well, I'm not sure exactly what about this is so harmful, but a lot can get lost in translation, and on paper, the words may not have looked as though he said anything inflammatory, but when you see the show, right, it's a portion of. So for those who don't know, and I wasn't, there was a time like when I kind of was like out of like wrestling, and I wasn't into like wrestling gossip or news for a long time. So a lot of people who grew up in this internet generation of consuming, wrestling rumors and all this other stuff, they are well read on the plane ride from hell, right? Like apparently WWE was coming back from a European tour. A bunch of the guys got really, really drunk, and shenanigans ensued, right? Of those shenanigans, apparently there was a situation in which Ric Flair did something that he is known for doing, which was, he would put on his robe and have nothing underneath, and he would open his robe and just start swinging his business around, and all the boys love it because why not, right? And so again, like that's one thing. That's one thing. But the next level of this was a flight attendant who was on that flight. She was telling the story of when Rick was doing this thing, how he cornered her in the back where the flight attendants get their, get the drinks and stuff to bring out. And, she's like, Rick has her cornered back there, and he's swinging his penis around, and he's, telling her, hey, just touch it. Just touch it. Just touch it. And he's like, and at one point, he actually takes his hand and puts it on there. Takes her hand and puts it on him. And she's like, nobody would help her, except at one point she said Dustin Rhodes actually got up and, told Rick to cool it and, kind of helped her out then. But otherwise, right, like nobody was helping her, right? So to say that this was a traumatic incident for her is that's not strong enough. And when Tommy Dreamer was, so the way that they did this story, and I appreciate this from a storytelling perspective. They had multiple people commenting on the story. They had like Tommy Dreamer commenting on it. They had Rob Van Dam commenting on it. They had probably who's that referee? Is it Mike Chioda commenting on it? Jim Ross, right? All of this stuff. And the consensus opinion is that Rick did it, that he did it. That he was, he was known for doing the thing, swinging his joint around, and, and that the thing where he cornered the woman and whatever, like apparently this was not foreign enough behavior for Ric Flair that anybody thought this was anything out of the ordinary. If I corner a woman and show her my private parts, people are gonna be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Because that's abnormal behavior for me. You understand? That's abnormal behavior for anybody in my workplace. So the fact that this wasn't abnormal behavior for somebody in that workplace is one thing. The fact that this wasn't abnormal behavior for him is another thing, right? Like sometimes you learn more by what's not said than by what's actually said. And so back to Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer was describing the situation, and he described it in a very nonchalant kind of way. Okay. He described it as though this was just something that, was just something that would happen. And I think he had the line say something like, I guess someone got offended. Okay. I guess someone got offended. To me, that's the most damning thing. I guess someone got offended. Again, anybody out there listening to this, think of your mother. If your mother goes to work, think of your sister. If your sister goes to work, think of your daughter. If your daughter goes to work, think of your wife or girlfriend if she goes to work. Okay. We're not talking about somebody who's a club groupie chasing these guys down, trying to be all in their face for attention. We're not talking about that. We're talking about somebody going to work to pay their bills, just like you do or anybody else does. Okay. Or even imagine yourself. Let's do it like that. Imagine yourself going to work, doing your job. And then imagine yourself being cornered by someone 3 times your size and strength, and they're swinging their penis around, asking you to touch it. And you're politely declining. And eventually they take your hand and just put it on their penis, on your penis. Okay. Imagine, put yourself in that situation. Okay. Imagine what that feels like. And imagine being told that it doesn't matter that this is happening to you and that you need to just no sell it. Cause that's what they kept telling Tory Reynolds, right? Like just no sell it, right? In other words, it's more important that you don't disturb, that you don't make any waves than the fact that somebody is violating you. Okay. So back to Tommy Dreamer. The fact that this man in 2021 chose to go onto a worldwide platform, because Dark Side of the Ring is a worldwide platform, it's very popular, and you wanted to talk about this, but you talk about it in a very nonchalant way. You just dismiss, like, I guess someone got offended. You deserve any and everything that is coming your way as a result of that. Okay. You want to say people are being over offended or blown out of proportion. Nah. Let me tell you something, but to anybody listen to this, every woman you know either has been sexually harassed, if not assaulted, or knows someone who has been, another woman who has been sexually harassed, if not assaulted. That is true. That is a fact. That is a fact. And this is the things that women have to live with. Okay. And it's 2021. So we're not playing that boys will be boys shit anymore. Okay. Especially not on a worldwide platform. What reasonable employer would let somebody go out on a platform like this and talk that boys will be boys shit and come back to work the next day like it's nothing? Mm-hmm. Even in WWE, where they perpetrated all of this shit, right? The place where this culture existed, they even distanced themselves from it. It was a different time. They don't go into depth. They don't try to defend it. You know what I mean? But at least they don't try to talk that boys will be boys shit. Okay. So I'm not sure what Tommy Dreamer was thinking, but the homies at the Public Enemies pod said it best. Shutting the fuck up is free. Okay. Nobody forced you to go on that show and talk about it. Okay?
True.
And if you didn't feel like you wanted to be on your high horse or be a social justice warrior or whatever you want to call it, right? If you didn't want to take that stance, you could have just shut the fuck up. You could have just shut the fuck up. Okay. And you didn't. And now you're looking for employment. So let that be a lesson to you. Okay. If you feel that way, shut the fuck up. Okay, because the world is changing, and it's changing in a way that where people, men, we are still men. You know what I mean? We still think dirty thoughts, and a lot of us do dirty things, but it's not as acceptable anymore. Okay. And if you're someone who wants to champion that it should be acceptable, then you're going to get what's coming to you. Okay. And so that's what it is. And so you're not going to catch me defending Tommy Dreamer, Tommy Dreamer or anybody else. And again, like, I don't want to try to act like, any and everything that happened on that plane is Tommy Dreamer's fault. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about what happened on that plane and all how wrong it was. That's not what we're talking about. Don't try to redirect the conversation. We're talking about the fact that in 2021, you're here talking about this shit like it was no big deal. Okay. So now talk about it on your own platforms, because you're not going to be doing it on Impact Wrestling, because good for them. They made the right choice. And as Forrest Gump would say, that's all I have to say about that.
All right. I will, that's pretty convincing argument. So I'll take your word for all that. I'm going to watch the episode soon, so I'll further educate myself on the matter. When I saw that a plane ride from hell episode was coming out, I thought maybe like the plane almost crashed or something like that. This is not what I was.
Too. There's a part where they talk about apparently Brock Lesnar and Kurt Hennig got into a wrestling match / fight, and they were banging up against the emergency door, and people were like, "Holy shit!"
Oh wow, yeah, I remember over the years hearing a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I mean, so I imagine it was crazy. I'm sure I gotta finish the episode myself, but I watched it up to that point because I wanted to see, what all the fuss was about, and it was deserved. But at the end of the day, it was deserved. It was deserved because, if you're not out here trying to build a better world where women can go to work and don't have to feel like, like they're objects to just be, fucking assaulted at any point and have no recourse. If you're not trying to help build that world, then, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's where we at with that. All right, let's get back to some wrestling, to some actual wrestling. Impact Wrestling this week. Woo! Just 48 hours away from Victory Road. Another loaded edition of Impact Wrestling on Access TV was on the air. We had Violent by Design looking to get back on track as their rivalry with Decay continued. Rhino blindsided Black Taurus with blindsided Black Taurus to jumpstart the match, and they gained the early advantage. Rhino pummeled Crazy Steve from the apron, allowing Deaner to remain in control. Steve bit Deaner as the crowd went wild. Steve went to the top rope once again, but Rhino got involved. Deaner inadvertently hit Rhino with the VBD flag. Crazy Steve capitalizes with the jumping DDT to get the win. So Decay defeated Violent by Design. And after the match, Eric Young initiated an attack on Rhino as the rest of Violent by Design take him out with a brutal assault. Is this the end of Rhino in Violent by Design?
Absolutely. This is to bring Heath back. I'm almost sure of it. I think they were like, hey, we got to give Rhino something to do. He needs to cash in this trophy that means nothing up to this point. And now they're finding a way to write him out of it. I was disappointed that this was the conclusion of 2 weeks of them, trying to purify Rhino in the waters of Lake Minnetonka, and tying up to a post and all that for him to come out and look exactly the same. So I was just like, what was the point of all that? Yeah. So I was a little disappointed in that sense. This match. So first, I want to say about this card in general. Last week's card on paper, I was like, this doesn't look that good because it was all matches we've seen before. This one was actually a really, really fresh card of matches.
Yeah.
Episode probably wasn't as good, but it was fresh. So I enjoy that. But we had a conversation last week about finishers, and This match featured someone winning with a DDT beating someone who also wins with the DDT. Granted, a tornado DDT and the Diener DDT are a little different, but they're the same move for the most part. And then so to build on what I was saying last week, I went through the Impact roster, and I had said, okay, well, there's 3 cutters, there's 3 DDTs, there's 3 spears. So there's also 2 pile drivers and 2 clothesline finishers. All boring moves. Each member of Violent by Design shares a finisher with someone else from the roster.
Wow.
I found that to be a funny stat. And we'll throw Rhino on there for sake of argument, but all 4 of them have a finisher that someone else on the roster uses. I guess we can eliminate one of the DDTs with Tommy Dreamer not being around, but back to the match and everything. I just thought this was. I was just expecting more from what they were trying to do with Rhino. I didn't know that it was Rhino's fault that he got hit with the flag, because we've seen tag teams break up all the time for someone hits the wrong guy. I mean, back in the 80s, dude, you could have a tag team perfectly in sync, and then one day one guy hits someone by accident, and then they break, they'll break them up for that exact spot. But it's never the fault of the person holding them. So it just you know what I mean? So it felt a little weird, but I just took that as this is how they're trying to break Rhino away from them so they can do bring Heath back. Right. I would imagine. I mean, he's been gone for a long time, so that's really what I think they're trying to do. But it was a little anticlimactic for me. But they needed Rhino because Eric Young can't wrestle. So hopefully Eric Young needs to get back in the ring, or Violent by Design is going to get really boring again.
Yeah. Violent by Design has not done anything for me at all. I just, whatever. Rhino, I love purifying yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. All right. After TJP cost Petey Williams his match against Steve Maclin last week, he heads to Swingers Palace to collect his money. Petey confronts him and vows to exact his revenge when they meet one-on-one tonight. Okay, let's see.
Really weird feud, by the way. Just a weird feud the way they're putting it together. But I'll give Swingers Palace props this one time. I actually found this one funny, and I typically don't.
Yeah. The team led by Impact World Champion Christian Cage in tonight's huge 10-man war prepares for battle during an interview with Gia Miller, despite X Division champion Josh Alexander and Chris Sabin being on the same team tonight. Their opponents with the X Division title on the line at Victory Road. You know what? I actually love this segment because it reminded me of when WWE used to do these big, 5 or excuse me, these big like 8 or 10-man tag team matches, and you'd have these interview segments with like the Road Warriors and Roddy Piper and whoever is all like, just doing one interview and everybody's trying to get their words in. It was just crazy. It was nonsense, but I loved it. This kind of gave me that feel.
I said the same thing on Twitter. I shared a picture. I said, this reminded me of the Survivor Series in the late 80s. And I don't remember when they stopped doing it, probably early 90s, but the team interviews that they would do with Mean Gene backstage, and even the match itself in the main event was the closest thing to me. Like, I usually see 10-man tags and I just see a big train wreck, but this one felt like Survivor Series shit. Like it brought some old school back to me. So I really enjoyed it.
Now we're definitely going to talk about that match. So TJP versus Petey Williams. Okay. Petey sent TJP to the outside with a slingshot code breaker. Petey hit a side Russian leg sweep to remain in control. TJP turned the tide with a running boot in the corner, but Petey avoids the follow-up Mamba splash. Petey locks in the sharpshooter to do some serious damage. TJP counters with a Canadian destroyer, but Petey is able to catch him in a pinning predicament for the win. Petey Williams defeated TJP. After the match, Steve Maclin, your boy, comes in with a violent message and lays out both competitors. What do you think about this?
I can say PJ Washington for a second.
He could use somebody to extract some revenge on his behalf.
Yeah, baby mama on a pole match. So again, very weird feud that they put together with Swingers Palace and backstage nonsense. A couple weeks ago, I said, "Yo, I felt like they were gonna, for a second in this backstage segment, that they were gonna turn TJP heel, and then at the conclusion of this match, I thought PJ. Now I go with PJ.
PJ Washington.
TJP.
You thought he was going heel?
Yeah. I thought TJP was gonna attack him after the match. So again, I was like, oh, I thought it was coming, and I was gonna be like, wow, that could be something very interesting they do with TJP. And then when Maclin came out, who I've been saying I really like Steve Maclin, I was just like, again, like, what is this the gift that keeps on giving? Like Steve Maclin and Petey Williams, like, what in the world are we doing here? Like, where is all this going? And I'm not really interested to see where it's going either, because I think every possible interesting direction they could have gone, they haven't gone. So yeah. I'm just like, are we just getting a standard now? TJP and Petey Williams are going to team up to take on Steve Maclin and some dude like.
And some dude.
Yeah. I'm just like, I don't know what they're doing with it. I was, when he came out and started attacking him, I was just like, oh, here's some cookie cutter shit. I was just like, I wanted to see TJ turn on him. I thought that was going to happen, and that's not what happened.
So, I think what they're doing here is they're just trying to get Steve Maclin some wins. Bro, you know who Steve Maclin looks like to me?
Who?
He looks like a young hacksaw Jim Duggan. Like, yo, man, like, I just, oh God, man, there's just nothing. As a consumer, listen, a disclaimer, okay, I respect what wrestlers do. I've never taken a bump. I probably never will, whatever, but I am a consumer. I have been watching wrestling for a long time. I know what I like. I know what I don't. I know what I find interesting. I know what I don't. I'm also a TV producer. Anyway, I just don't see it, man. Like, yeah, I mean, like, to me, he's just a guy. And so I also believe that it's the job of the producer to take the talent and accentuate their positives and hide their flaws. So I believe you can build anyone, right? I believe you can build anyone. So they're building him. They're building him to be a challenger one day. You know what I mean? A fresh challenger. And so I'm okay with that, right? Because I understand what they're doing. They're creating fresh matchups. Like we were talking, I believe it was last week, and we were saying how it just feels like the same matches over and over. So at some point, you got to build up somebody else, right? So they're creating things to do so that the audience can see Steve Maclin winning. So if we see Steve Maclin winning, then when he gets a chance to face somebody important, then the idea that he could win won't be so foreign, right? Like right now, it's like, it's not that the idea that he win would be foreign. It's just that I just don't care.
He's beaten Petey Williams twice. Why is he still attacking him?
He needs to prove something.
Right. Like punching a guy while he's down.
Well, that's what he does. He's Steve Maclin. He's mayhem. Remember those insurance commercials? I'm mayhem.
Not at all. No clue what you're talking about.
Oh my God. You look it up on YouTube. It's funny.
All right.
After being taken out of action by the Good Brothers, Willie Mack returns and joins Rich Swann in attacking the Impact World Tag Team Champions with a pair of crutches. Willie reveals that he's back at 100% just moments before being granted an Impact World Tag Team title opportunity by Scott D'Amore. After Laredo Kid made his triumphant return last week on BTI, John Skyler looks to even the score in a highly anticipated rematch tonight. Skyler gets on the mic and says that tonight, Laredo Kid won't be so lucky. So we had John Skyler versus Laredo Kid. Laredo Kid hit a jumping neck breaker, then collided with Skyler with a big dive to the ramp. Skyler brings Laredo's momentum to a halt with an overhead suplex on the floor. It's a stalemate. After both men take each other out with a double clothesline, Skylar pulls out the mask of Laredo and then rolls him up with the hold of the tights to steal the victory. And I love this. I love this. I love this. I love this. You're introducing new characters and you got a heel winning in a heel way. I love it. Mwah. It's not complicated. It's not explosive. It's not magical, but it's wrestling. It's wrestling. And I love it.
What I didn't like is that this is 2 matches in a row now ending with a roll up. Okay, so we had this issue last week. 2 matches in a row. Roll
you
up.
Listen to Jim Cornette, haven't you?
I do, but I don't remember him. I've never heard him
do this on this match because you gotta do it on the other match, and they gotta do that.
He does say all that. He does sound like that too. So first, I want to talk about Willie Mack and Rich Swann. I freaking loved that segment. First, I'm like, okay, here's another Good Brothers, like whatever, you know. But when he opened it and Willie was standing there, kind of looking vulnerable on the crutches, and then he lets one go, and they open the other door, and Swann was there. I was like, that is great. Like I thought that was excellent. As I've said, this is the Rich Swann that we really needed to see in the Kenny Omega stuff. You know, they painted him as such an underdog and so beneath Kenny. You know, like this is really good. I thought they already announced that they had a shot at Victory Road, so I would imagine they lost. Did they lose tonight?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to see those guys with a run as the titles. I think Rich Swann needs it because we've bumped him down to the mid card after being the world champion. So I think this would be very good for him, but clearly that's not what they're going to do. Yeah. As far as John Skyler versus Laredo Kid, I think they got something with this dude. He came across very TV ready. The promo was good. It was getting people were reacting to it. His promo to the story he was telling in the ring, like he was getting a reaction out of people.
Yeah.
And he had a good match with Laredo Kid. Good good heel finish like you said, but I that's what I wrote down in my notes. I was like, I think they got something with this guy. Now, he's been a part of the company here for like a month. There's never any kind of, hey, we signed this dude. Nothing. He just showed up one day and we were supposed to assume he signed with the company, which why would we? Because people show up every week who they don't sign. So I felt like they needed to communicate that to us a little bit so that we could know to care about this guy.
Okay.
You know, that's why AEW social media marketing works with this so-and-so is all elite. So-and-so is all in that they used to do. Like that graphic alone gets people talking and buzzing and knowing that it's serious and that this guy is not just doing an appearance, that he is here, he is signed. This guy very unceremoniously is added to the Impact roster. But I think they got something in him. I just saw a lot of good things. And I mentioned maybe about 3-4 weeks ago, he has a girlfriend named Katie Sparks. Her most of her social media is inactive at the moment. So there's not a lot of like pictures and stuff up there out her, but like she is hot. And I think she did ring announcing. But I was watching this and I was thinking, man, they could bring her in and she could very much have I know they're big shoes to fill, but I think she could have a very Scarlett-like effect as a manager over him. Similar to like what Scarlett has over Cross, or had, I should say. But I could just we don't really have a lot of. I don't think anyone at Impact is like a heel with a valet. I've always liked the valet thing.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's like that. Yeah.
But man, I was just watching this. I was like, dude, I think that's a piece that's kind of missing if they were able to bring her on and work with them. But they got something with him. It was good to see Laredo Kid. Impact had him on their roster for a while. He felt like nothing. And then he starts having big matches in Mexico and AEW that people are talking about. and it's just like, is this the same dude Impact had, and he was just doing some bullshit matches?
Yes.
So yeah, so he feels like they brought him in a few times. He feels like a little bit bigger of a deal. Bound for Glory has teased a AAA involvement, I believe. Isn't that one of the logos that's been popping up?
Yep, that's
so
him.
I would imagine he's going to be in this. If I had to put my money on it, I would say there's going to be the return of Ultimate X. That's always how they bill it. I would imagine they're going to do an Ultimate X match for the title, and he will probably be involved in it.
They could organize this stuff so better, but I will not get on talk about it. All right. Taylor Wilde, Jordan Grace, and Rachel Ellering hijack a new edition of Tenille Dashwood's talk show, All About Me. Wilde challenges Dashwood to a singles match at Victory Road, claiming that Dashwood won't be able to defeat her without the help of the influence. After Rohit Raju hit Chelsea Green with the Tiger Knee, Matt Cardona sought his revenge and attacked him in the parking lot. Scott D'Amore announced that Cardona would face Rohit in a no DQ match on Saturday at Victory Road in order to settle this feud once and for all. Did you care about any of this?
I thought All About Me was hilarious this week, and I've always found it funny. It's a segment that I find funny. I think some of the camera angles are really cheap and amateur. Maybe they're doing it on purpose. I've just usually with television like that, you don't have them look into the camera talking like the way they do close-ups on Caleb and everything is very, very weird. But that's ticky-tack shit. I thought it was super funny, to be honest. I'm sure there's some people saw this and like, this is so stupid. But I find Tenille very funny because I like dry humor. And my boy Mike, who from Brace for Impact podcast, he thinks he's always saying, she sucks the life out of the room, has no charisma whatsoever. But I find her funny, dude. I don't know what it is. And I found this all delivered very well. The way that the minute these girls come in, like, okay, well, that's all the time we have. Like, she tried to cut it like 45 seconds into it. And I liked it as someone actually came with a notebook, and I got questions. And the way, the first thing, who's been winning when we wrestle? Oh, me. I like that questioning. That I just thought it was funny, dude. And then the thing after, I must have fast forwarded through it by accident. I didn't know that the no DQ match was made, but when I knew it was made, I said on Twitter, like, yo, they're beating this to they're beating this dead horse like just over and over with the no DQ and the hardcore rules and the street fight and the bunkhouse brawl, all the same shit. And it's just every other week we get it.
Oh my God. There were also so many comments in the YouTube this week telling me what a bunkhouse was. So thank you all.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Speaking of YouTube comments, let me cut you off. Speaking of YouTube comments, I meant to say this at the top of the show. I guess the Upside Down is from Stranger Things. And that's where Rosemary got that. I still think the name stinks, but apparently that's where...
Somebody in Stranger Things a wrestler? I don't get it. What is that?
Stranger Things, like it wasn't a TV show or a series.
Yeah, it's a Netflix show.
Netflix show. Okay, so I guess that's an alternate world or some shit. The Upside Down or.
Okay. All right. Okay, that makes sense.
So yeah. Okay.
That makes sense.
Still sucks.
Now that makes sense.
It makes sense now.
But your argument felt totally valid.
Right. It did.
Because the messenger matters. Messenger matters. If you have Josh Matthews saying something that sounds like it's completely unimaginative, then you're likely to believe that it's something that's just unimaginative. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So the messenger matters. If you had somebody like, who you think is cool calling it the Upside Down, you'd be like, why is this person calling it the Upside Down?
Right. The messenger matters. Absolutely. Even like when Madison Rayne does her move and Josh be like, Cross Rain, like there's no way she calls it that. And I still, even though that's his wife, I still don't believe that's the name of that.
Oh wait, is it the Crossroads? Is that what he calls it?
Yeah. But that name doesn't make any sense. Like Madison Rain has had like the rain check, the raindrop. Like you can't tell me Cross Rain. Like that doesn't make any sense. What is that? Like the raining from two different angles because it's so windy out and it's. I mean, I don't even care that's his wife. There's no way
I
that's
hate
the
when
name
it
of that
cross
move.
reigns.
Yeah, there's no way that's the name of the move. I don't care if it's his wife. I
Oh my god,
refuse to
cross
believe
reign.
it. Anyway, let's continue on.
All right. So, all right, we have Matthew Raywalt versus Trey Miguel. Trey Miguel, he's been a thorn in the side of Matthew Raywalt ever since he arrived in Impact Wrestling, and they're set to clash in a grudge match right here tonight. Raywalt matches Trey's speed with a running drop kick, then sends him toppling to the floor with a clothesline over the top. Raywalt remains in control when he drops Trey head first on the apron. After several minutes of dominance from Raywalt, Trey begins to build momentum with a springboard dropkick. Raywalt catches Trey in midair, then hits a modified fireman's carry powerbomb for 2. Raywalt crashes and burns with the swanton, allowing Trey to lock in a modified heel hook for the submission win. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about this real quick. I love this. I loved it when I watched it, and I even loved it going over the notes. I think Matthew Raywalt is so good, but I don't need to see him winning a bunch of matches. You know what I mean? Like, he's a great heel. And like, I will tell anybody, a heel is a plot device that is there to put the protagonist in danger. Okay? That's it. A heel is there to make you care for your hero. And Trey Miguel is so good. You know, like I can't talk enough about how good Trey Miguel is. Like, he wrestles and he does moves and he just sees wrestling in a way that the rest of us don't. Like, the way he comes up with stuff, you know, like, it just, man, this guy's, he's so dope. He's so innovative. The closest thing I can think of is like TJP. Like, these dudes just, they wrestle in like a unique, innovative style. Like, oh man, I wouldn't think that he's going to turn this arm bar into a leg drop, but somehow he did it. You know, like, just something crazy. And I'm thinking like long term here, a little long term. And if Josh Alexander is getting the Impact World Championship, well, relinquishing the X Division Championship to get the World Championship at Bound for Glory, then Trey Miguel needs to get the X Division Championship at Bound for Glory. And don't just give it to him at Bound for Glory. Okay. Again, tell us a story. Like, Trey Miguel is so dope and so amazing in the ring, but the thing that makes wrestling great is the stories. Tell us a story of why it's going to mean so much to him when he gets to win that X Division title at Bound for Glory. Like, as dope as Trey Miguel is, and as much as the Rascals were featured on Impact Wrestling, Trey Miguel has never held a title in Impact Wrestling. And this guy is one of the most phenomenal talents that they have, far and away. And he's completely changed his gear. He's changed his style. He's getting more and more of a character. And this dude is somebody that can be a hood ornament for this company. Again, he's a talent that is not readily identifiable to the wrestling public as someone who was in WWE or anywhere else. This is another guy, okay? Where's our guys? Here's another one of our guys, okay? Like, you got to build him in a way that makes people care, that when they see him, when they think of him, they think of that dope thing he did in Impact, okay? Tell us the story to make this moment at Bound for Glory like just your launching pad going forward, where the Impact fans are out here telling all the other people they know, yo, I know you might have watched Impact before, but you got to check out Trey Miguel. You got to check out Josh Alexander. These dudes are just crazy. Okay, like, you got to do it, man. Tell us a story. So I'm hoping Trey Miguel is on that trajectory, and all the stuff we've seen him doing, I hope, has just been kind of a holding pattern to get him where he needs to be, which he should be holding a title, because again, like, Trey Miguel, Chris Bay, Josh Alexander, I want to say Jake something. You know, Rohit, like, there's a few guys, Moose, who are Impact guys, and they need to be building around these guys. These are the guys who need to be in the feature stories, and they need to be winning a lot. Okay, like, that's who these guys need to be. So he's one of those guys, man. He's one of those guys. So I hope this is the beginning of Trey Miguel's trajectory towards the X Division Championship.
And I thought the match was excellent. I really enjoyed watching it. And you're right, the gear is different, the music's different. I always talk about how presentation matters. You know, I never liked the Rascals, never. They were good in the ring. I didn't like the gimmick. I did it from day one. And he's come and he's not using the Rascals music. He's nothing like he's identified himself as a brand new wrestler. Like I don't even think Rascals when I see him anymore. And this is kind of what I wanted for Josh Alexander. You know, I hate that he uses the North song because I think it sucks. Number one, you know, then you hear Trey Miguel's song and that song's badass. He's badass. Like you're right. He just pulls shit out of his arsenal, you know. And I remember, you know, before the cruiserweight style, before everybody was doing it, I remember watching a younger Matt Sydal and thinking, I loved when he came on because he was so different than everyone else because he was just kind of busting out moves you haven't seen before. And now everyone does all this shit. But
right.
Trey Miguel is very similar to that. And again, just like TJP, as you said, those guys just pull shit out their ass. So it was good. And you're right, Ray Wall doesn't need a win. There's some heels that you could argue they should win some matches, but it works for him to lose. Like I don't think he's associated with Deonna Purrazzo, so he's not doing anything singles wise. He's kind of he's almost a lackey in a sense. So you know it don't matter. This didn't hurt him.
Speaking of which, I forgot to mention this. After the match, Deonna Purrazzo came out and attacked Trey Miguel. Yes, you heard that right. Deonna Purrazzo came out and attacked Trey Miguel. But Mickie James came out to make a stave, and a huge brawl broke out between Mickie James and Deonna Purrazzo. And by the way, I love this. And I talked last week about how much I loved the fact that Mickie James went out of her way to make sure she's telling you that Deonna Purrazzo has made this fight personal for her and that she's going to give you hardcore country. And that hardcore country is something different. Like she just made it a point to sell it to you. So when you see her come out, you know, and she's just attacking Deonna Purrazzo, she's on fire and she's just zoned in. She just really wants to get after her to the point where security can't break it up. Like it's just backing up what she said in her interview. And that's why I love wrestling vets, even Tommy Dreamer, right? Like one thing, you know, that you got to give Tommy Dreamer credit for, Tommy Dreamer could cut a damn promo. Tommy Dreamer could cut a damn promo and he could sell you something. You know what I mean? He could sell you a damn match. Now, if the match has him in it, you don't really want to see it, but he can damn cut a promo. So yeah, man, that's one thing I love about like the real vets. Like the real vets, they understand what part of the story to emphasize. You know what I mean? And how to just make it feel, because if you think about it, right, like with Deonna Purrazzo, there's a bit of a feeling of, all right, well now what? She's beating everybody.
Yes.
And so you got Mickie James, and listen, this could very easily feel like, oh man, they're just digging up an old talent to give her something to do, right? But again, Mickie James, she's made this, like, look how many flips they've gotten out of this, right? Like, you started with the idea, hey, Mickie, I want to do a match with you and Deonna. Mickey's like, okay, cool. I want Deonna for our NWA women's pay-per-view. Cool. I want Deonna to come out and attack me at the NWA anniversary show. Then I want to go back for Deonna. And, you know, it's just like all this. And like, there's been nothing hot-shotted about this. And even though they've fought, I still want to see them in the ring. Because in case you have forgotten, Mickie James is good in the ring. You know what I mean? Mickie James is good in the ring. And Deonna Purrazzo is good in the ring. This is going to be good. This is going to be a good match. And so, and even if the match is not like, you know, a wrestling masterpiece, they've sold you on the emotion of this. Like Mickie James wants to beat up Deonna Purrazzo, title or no title. It's like you've gotten in my face, you crossed the line, and I'm not the one. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that is enough. And sidebar here, this is what I'm talking about when I have these conversations with people all the time. And I'm like, yo, why do y'all love the flippy wrestling so much? And I'm like, I'd rather have the story. The story is what matters. right? And I'm just telling you right now how by the time we get to Bound for Glory, Mickie James and Deonna Purrazzo are going to have told us a 2 to 3 month story, okay, about why we need to see these two get it on. Okay, like it's all about the story, man. It's all about the story. I'm getting hyped just thinking about this right now. I'm ready for Deonna and Mickie James because this shit is going to be lit.
It's going to be excellent. It was clear that they were building towards this. I don't know why Deonna was dressed up when she attacked Mickie James because they had already brawled a couple times. There's probably no reason for her to. That's usually how you debut a mystery person or something. But I think Mickie James is going to take the title off her. To be honest with you, I know. Common sense would say, well, put Deonna over. But then we're further getting into that territory of what the hell's next. The only way it works is if Deonna wins and then they send her a legitimate opponent from AEW. That's the only way I think Deonna winning makes sense for me because she has actually beat everyone. This isn't like the North saying we've beat everybody and then you look at the matches and they've only beat like one or two teams all year and just wrestled Eddie Edwards and a random partner 50 times. So she really has done everything she can freaking do. Yeah. So unless I still think there's some money in trying to get Kylie Rae over since she's partnered, with the NWA and they're partnered. I think there's money in bringing her as the next opponent. So it doesn't even have to be AEW, but they're probably going to have to they're going to probably have to give her outside opponents for a while until she loses it. I just wouldn't be surprised if they didn't have Mickie.
No, you're right, because if you look at the Knockouts roster, like, who else is even close? Like, again, we've seen her and Jordan. Jordan's working. By the way, they are long playing this Jordan Grace heel turn. They are really, they have slowed down. And they are really long playing this Jordan Grace heel turn. It's obviously still
they're going to go to it, but yeah.
But I don't think that's the worst thing because Rachel Ellering I don't think she's I don't think she's from a character standpoint like ready to kind of step out on her own yet.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like let her have a nice program with Jordan Grace, and I think that's going to go a long way towards helping her become somebody who can really be a contributor as a singles. I think Tasha Steelz is ready, right?
She's ready as shit.
But there has to be some sort of avenue to get her there. You know what I mean? I say, listen, Tasha Steelz has a goon. That could be your answer right there, right? Like you give somebody a goon, that's it right there. I can't get the title off this person because they got a goon. So, Tasha Steelz, I think, batter up, man. But we're not going to see Tasha Steelz take the title off Deonna Purrazzo. That's not going to happen.
No. I do think Rachel Ellering and Jake Something have the same finisher also, by the way. Neither here nor there, just reminded me of that. But yeah, she's not ready to do her own thing. But there's just nothing for Deonna after this. So it has to be someone from another company if Mickie James doesn't win the title and then they have a longer program where she gets the title back. But I actually think Mickey's going to win it.
All right, we're going to pick up steam here a little bit. We got a Tasha Steelz promo. They stole the Knockouts Tag Team Championship, like the physical championship. They stole them and they're holding on to them. They're going to face DK at Victory Road. Then we got Chris Bay and how you say this? Hikuleo. Okay, and then they claim they're going to put down Finjuice at Victory Road. Okay, so then we got to our main event. And this was good, man. This was a big, huge match, and it was long. Pause. So we had Christian Cage, Josh Alexander, Chris Sabin, Eddie Edwards, Sami Callihan versus Ace Austin, Madman Fulton, Brian Myers, Moose, and W. Morrissey. Okay. It was an unprecedented main event as Christian Cage and Ace Austin led their hand-picked teams into a colossal 10-man war just 2 nights before they clash for the Impact World title at Victory Road. The match quickly breaks down as fight spills all over outside. Sami Callihan catches Ace with a mid-air forearm shot, followed by a pile driver to Sam Bill, who isn't even in the match. That distraction allows Myers to blindside Callahan, giving his team control. Callahan takes Fulton off the top rope with a bulldog, and Alexander and Sabin play mind games before their X Division title bout at Victory Road, tagging themselves into the match. Eddie sends Moose flying with a belly-to-belly suplex. Eddie's perched on the top, but Morrissey distracts him, allowing Moose to drop kick him all the way to the floor. Christian Cage flies with the top rope frog splash to Myers, but the pin is broken up by Morrissey. Christian Cage finally gets his opportunity to square off with Ace Austin, but Ace hits a low blow. Eddie hits a superplex on Ace, sending him crashing into a sea of humanity on the outside. Christian Cage hits Myers with a spear, followed by the C4 spike from Alexander to win. I love the kind of playing off the, anything you can do, I can do better with Christian Cage and Josh Alexander. The win was the going off. We got the Josh Alexander and Christian Cage and Chris Sabin and Eddie Edwards and Sami Callihan all celebrating in the ring as we head to Victory Road. What'd you think about this match? What'd you think about this episode of Impact?
Well, here's some story time with BQ, baby. I didn't finish this match. I didn't finish watching it. And that was an accident. I was watching it and got distracted, and until we sat down here to podcast, I was like, I didn't finish that effing match. So I cannot even BS the audience through what I thought of it. So I got to go back and watch it.
Well, I would tell you honestly, it was a fun watch. So if you want to just like whenever you have time, pull up on YouTube, like it was a fun watch, and it's worth your time to go sit down and watch. Like it was cool.
I'm definitely going to check it. I liked everyone involved, and I thought, to answer your question, I thought it was a solid episode. That the ratings were down. We can't get caught up on the ratings with Impact. It's just one of those shows that's not a must-see show for the average wrestling fan. If they're not doing anything that night, if there's nothing else on TV, they'll watch Impact. There's the Impact faithful who are always gonna watch it no matter what. But that's just what it boils down to. We can't get caught up in those numbers. Most likely, the same eyeballs are on the show every week. It just probably sometimes there's more DVR numbers than others, but I actually thought this card on paper was going to bring more viewers because it was just it just looked more interesting. It looked fresher. Like I thought last week's episode was a lot better, but the card this week was better. It just wasn't as good as last week. I'm just saying on paper it looked a lot better, but it was a solid episode. I don't think they haven't had a bad episode since pre-Slammiversary. I think they had a few episodes where I was like, this fucking sucks. But that's because they were treading water with a really thin roster for months, and it was just like, oh my god. But ever since Slammiversary, I've thought every episode has been really good.
Good. So we're gonna do Victory Road, but we're not gonna give you the play-by-play. I'm just gonna kind of give you some results, and you tell me what you think of the results. BQ, you haven't watched the show yet, right?
I haven't watched it. Let's preface by saying I have not watched the show.
So we can just talk about what we think about the results here. All right, so here's our Victory Road kind of review. Right? We started with Steve Maclin versus TJP versus PD Williams, and Steve Maclin got the win. Good move, bad move.
Good move. So he can move off this PD Williams shit. He's had a couple of victories over him that weren't decisive. Like he needed a decisive win. I didn't know this match was on the card. Did they just throw it out there last minute?
Maybe.
Okay.
All right. Next we had Black Taurus versus John Skyler versus Jake Something versus Laredo Kid versus Trey Miguel. And do you want to guess the winner here?
I'm willing to bet both my testicles that Trey Miguel won this match.
Ooh.
Okay, you know what? I was kidding. I just hit just a little shock value. No, who won it?
Laredo Kid.
Oh,
Laredo Kid.
I should have
After
seen
we
that coming.
just made the case for why Trey Miguel needs to be on the road to Bound for Glory for the emotional title win. He loses a multi-man match to Laredo Kid. Great.
Makes sense. They're not going to have someone from another company lose 2 matches in a row.
Yeah, what is this, AEW?
So,
all right. We had Tennille Dashwood with the Influence, Madison Rain and Caleb with a K, versus Taylor Wilde with Jordan Grace and Rachel Ellering. Who do you think won this one?
I'm gonna say Taylor Wilde won.
Yep, you're right. Taylor Wilde won this one.
Was it with her innovative German suplex?
Let's see. Yep, German suplex for the win.
Tennille Dashwood and
Tennille Dashwood. Good move or bad move?
Say that again.
Taylor Wilde defeating Tennille Dashwood. Good move or bad move?
Beating Tennille Dashwood, who has the same exact finisher as Rohit Raju. No, it was a good move. I don't know what story they're trying to tell between these two. It's been a long-term thing, but I do think they're trying to. You know what? We've discounted the fact that Taylor Wilde has never got her match with Deonna, so I may take that Deonna prediction back with Mickie James. But no, it was probably the right move here. I mean, Tennille's beat her a few times, so.
Okay. All right. So we had Rohit Raju with Shera versus Matt Cardona in a no disqualification match. Who do you think won here?
So I heard that this match was really good.
Okay.
I did hear that much. I'm gonna assume Cardona won. Rohit doesn't win a whole lot of feuds, so I'm gonna assume he won. And I'm also gonna say that I read this online today that they think whatever article I was reading was saying Impact is kind of missing the boat on doing a heel run with Matt Cardona right now. But
you know what? So I know exactly why they're saying that, because he won the GCW title and he basically went heel on them, and I liked it. I liked heel Matt Cardona. He's just basically, like flexing on you, like, yeah, I'm a WWE guy, but guess what? I was in WWE for so long, that means I'm rich. So,
right.
So he's just flexing on everybody. I thought that was dope. And you're right. I think that could be fun and interesting. But I'm kind of glad that he got to show it outside of Impact.
Right.
You know what I mean? Create a little buzz first. You get stuff that happens in Impact just always isn't well received by the wrestling community.
Yeah, they're just conditioned to not care.
But do it, I'd absolutely do it. Oops.
All right, folks, I did stop the recording for 1 second because I had something going on. So if that last part sounds a little choppy to you, apologies. We're moving right on now to the next match.
All right, so we had the Bullet Club, Chris Bay and Hikuleo versus FinJuice. And who do you think won this one?
I think the Bullet Club should have won, but I have a feeling FinJuice won.
Bullet Club defeat FinJuice. Good move or bad move?
No, good move. I've been saying this, that this Bullet Club inclusion for Chris Bay is the best thing that could happen to him. And he's going to get a lot of steam and a lot of momentum from this, and he should not be losing. The Bullet Club should not be losing on Impact. We finally have the Bullet Club on Impact. So, good move. Perfect move.
All right. I like it too. All right. Yeah, as long as you keep Chris Bay winning and doing something that's fun and interesting, that's a good move. All right. We had W. Morrissey and Moose versus Sami Callihan and Eddie Edwards with Alicia. Who do you think won this one?
I hope Moose and Morrissey won. Because if it's the other way around, then there's no more feud. There's no reason to have a fucking feud.
Good point. And you want to see more and more of this.
Yeah.
So, lucky you, Moose and Morrissey defeat Sami Callihan with Eddie Edwards and Alicia. Good move or bad move?
Good move because this can continue. Not that I want to see the same shit forever, but this this feud is different. Like Moose and Morrissey, I keep saying they have a chance to do something very fun and special with them teaming up together. But if they were to just take a loss right away from Sammy and Eddie of all people who aren't even supposed to want to team together, you know, so good move for sure.
Yeah, no, I do like that what you're saying there. Like build to the idea of Sammy and Eddie finally have to come together in order to kind of defeat the big bullies. I like that. Plus, if you haven't seen it, I think you'll like the finish of this match. Just saying, there's a little something in there that knowing what I know about what you like, you might find interesting. All right. Watch that and get back to me. Okay. All right. We had the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Decay versus Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans for the Knockouts Tag Team Championship. Who do you think won?
I'm going to say that Tasha and Savannah won the titles.
All right. So, Knockouts Tag Team Champions Decay defeat Tasha Steelz and Savannah Evans for the Knockouts, to retain the Knockouts Championship. Good move or bad move?
I'll say it was a good move because they should not just drop the titles right away. My assumption was just that they did because Decay loses a lot. Mm-hmm. But 9 times out of 9, when they do the angle of someone took the belt, the team, the real champions usually end up winning and getting their belts back. I can't think of the exact match, but I only know only once or twice, and I think the history of me watching wrestling has the person who stole the belt actually ended up winning. That's just not usually but I just had a feeling because Savannah Evans is kind of a new shiny toy. How did she look out there?
I gotta go back and watch it to tell you.
Okay. Nothing memorable, so okay.
All right. So Ace Austin cut a promo and he talked about it was inevitable that he was going to become the youngest Impact World Champion in history. And that made me wonder, who is the youngest Impact World Champion in history? Because I feel like Ace Austin's been saying that for a few years now, and he may be running out of time to accomplish that goal. Just a thought. We had the Impact Tag Team Champions, the Good Brothers, versus Rich Swann and Willie Mack for the Impact World Tag Team Championships. Who do you think won this match?
Well, I think I asked you earlier about this, and you said the Good Brothers won, so I was hoping Swann and Mack were going to pull this one out, but
yeah. Yes. So instead, the Good Brothers pulled it out and showed it to everybody, like the Ric Flair. The Good Brothers retained the championship. Good move or bad move?
I don't know, dude. I don't care about these motherfuckers. It's probably a good move because they shouldn't lose the titles on Impact Plus. It's supposed to be a big deal, whoever beats the Good Brothers.
Yeah.
I don't know that it will be. But it's probably supposed to be. Swann and Mack is a team that I think should beat them.
Agreed.
I can't think of any other team you would feed them.
Yeah.
We talked about they're trying to do a gorilla, maybe trying to do a Gorillas of Destiny thing. Maybe that's what they're trying to do for Bound for Glory. But if you're talking about people on Impact, I think Swann and Mack should beat those guys. I just don't think they're going to have them wrestle again.
Yeah, they should though, because I was actually excited to see this combo. So I think it definitely can be good.
Yeah.
All right. We had X Division champion Josh Alexander versus Chris Avon for the X Division Championship. I already told you what happens at the end of this match. So at the end of the show, so Josh Alexander was the winner here. Was this a good move or a bad move?
Good move. That's the only option besides option C.
Was that the only option?
Yeah.
All right, Impact World Champion Christian Cage versus Ace Austin with Madman Fulton. Again, we already know what happened at the end of the show, so the Christian Cage retained the title here. Good move or bad move?
We knew it was coming, but Ace Austin, you only got so many cracks at this at being a top guy, and he cannot continue to lose in the main event picture. So eventually, they're gonna have to do something with him, and he might just be the youngest world champion. he might be the guy to take it off Josh Alexander. But yeah, it was the right move.
Yeah, I think definitely. This is definitely the right move. Like I said, I think all roads need to be going to bringing the Impact World Championship back to an Impact talent and making an Impact talent feel special. And it's got to be Christian Cage doing it. I'm sorry, it's got to be Josh Alexander being the one to bring that title back. So, so this is obviously the right moves here. I'm sure you'll watch Victory Road when you get a chance, and you can at a later date let us know what you thought of the show. I kind of, I was just watching a little bit in passing, like I said, because I'm getting my kids ready for bed, trying to get some dinner prep for tomorrow. Lots of stuff. I wasn't sitting down watching it too intently. So from what I could see, it looked like a fun show, and I'm probably gonna catch it. When I have some time, like when I'm in the kitchen cleaning up or cooking, I'll put it in. I'll put it on the laptop or something and watch it while I'm doing my thing. So it seemed like a solid show though. But the main point was what we got at the end. That was the headline coming out of the show, and that's gonna build our story going forward.
Yeah, so I will watch it tomorrow. I plan on watching it tomorrow, so we'll see. We're recording this on a Saturday. Usually we try to record on Fridays, but because Victory Road was coming on, we didn't want to record without knowing what the results were because we've done that in the past, and it just sounds odd once a podcast comes out. So we wanted to wait.
All right, so now it's time for in the comment section. This is the part where you get to be a part of the show right here in the Impact Lounge. Make sure that you drop your name and where you're from in the comment section so we can give you a shout out as we read your questions. So Mike Spikes writes, I like David Penzer as an Impact Wrestling announcer. He's a true legend, maybe JoJo or Vicky's daughter, I guess, as potential replacements for David Penzer. Mike Spikes also said, what can Anthem do more to help Impact Wrestling with production and settings and creative? What do you think, Dave?
What could Anthem? I don't know what other programming Anthem has had their hands in. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that they know a whole lot about high production value. Like if you're talking about channels like Access TV and stuff, don't have a lot of viewers. Maybe I don't know, but I think I do think lighting is an issue. I think the show looks very dark, which makes it look very indie. Mm-hmm. I was watching. I know this is very random. It was like Braxton Sutter versus Trevor Lee on YouTube the other day, and man, it just looks so different. Like the crowd doesn't have.
They were like Universal, right?
Yeah, and the crowd
better lit. Yes.
Yeah, the crowd didn't have the same energy, but I mean, it just looks so much better. Like it's just so dark. Speaking
of dark, and speaking of Universal, I think I heard somebody say that AEW is going to start taping AEW Dark from Universal Studios.
Yeah. I think that's a good tie-in. Very good segue. Yeah, I believe that. I don't know if they have done it yet or not.
I think I heard that there is a taping in the book. So interested to see what that looks like.
Yeah, and they you got to reserve your tickets ahead of time. It's not like Impact. Let's hope a lot of people show up today. And
yeah,
so that's actually really interesting because Tony Khan in the past is saying, oh, we don't want to do stuff like have wrestling shows in theme parks like some other companies. And
here
we are
talking greasy, right?
Yeah.
All right, to answer your question, Paul, thanks for your question. I'm sorry, it wasn't Paul. Mike, to answer your question, Mike, here's what they can do to help with production and settings and creative. Honestly, lights are lights. Okay, you can get better lights and better light rigging, but Skyway Studios is a television studio. They have lights. Okay, that show looks that way because Impact wants it to look that way. They could have lit so many things better. They had a good crowd 2 years ago when they had I think it was Hard to Kill, and when they had That was Hard to Kill, where Tessa got the title. And then I think they had another one that was a good crowd. I think it was Bound for Glory before that. They've had a few shows where they've had good crowds, and they just don't like to light the crowd. They had a decent crowd for the Homecoming show in Nashville.
Yeah,
they just don't like to light the crowds in that way. And I don't understand why. It makes your show look better and more lively. They do need to light the crowd. They can also mic the audience. They can put microphones around the audience so that we can pick up more of the crowd's reaction and make it feel like more of a big show. They can also get, I've been saying this forever, get more reaction pieces from the fans in attendance. Because again, you want to put out the idea that people are coming to the show, that people are enjoying the show, and it makes other people want to come to the show and enjoy the show. So there's a lot of things to do, and honestly, a lot of them don't involve spending that much more money or doing that much extra. It's just about knowing, what to do. We talk about the way that certain entrances are lit or not lit, and a lot of people have very basic lighting on their entrances, but look at Moose, right? Look at Decay. So they have the capability to do creative lighting. They just don't. Okay, I think they lack the creativity to do it, but it can be done. All right.
I think also recording some of these backstage segments in the same 3 parts of the building that looks super indie. Another segment I was watching on YouTube was Katie Forbes. She was backstage. She was kind of debuting, and Jordan Grace ran into her backstage, and they had a segment, and it was just so like cinematic looking. And I don't mean like it was a cinematic match, but I mean it was just so different. I mean they put a nice cool filter over it. I mean cool, not like awesome, but like a cool blue filter over the backstage segments at the time, so that it just looked good, it sounded good. And now it just looks like my dad grabbed his video camera from back in the days and he's just walking around in the back. It's echoey, it just sounds like shit, looks like shit. So honestly, better equipment backstage. Like I don't know if they don't have boom mics or they're not using HD cameras. I don't know, but it just, the backstage stuff looks really, really, really cheap.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for your question, Paul. Next question comes from Critical Sting. Critical Sting says, I feel like Cage is like Moose without the overall development. The Cage that debuted in Impact in 2018 is the same guy on AEW right now, while the Moose that we saw show up in 2016 is a shell of what he is today. Both are big and athletic, but Moose learned to save the high spots for big matches. Moose improved as a character and his promos to where the TNA title felt legit with him, and the FTW title on Cage just felt there. Woo!
Wow.
Thing coming in hot.
Yeah. I loved everything he just said. He has got a point. Moose is a different person, and Ryan Cage is pretty much the same person. The only difference is his ring gear. He had a couple straps like Wardlow, and he had a fucking faux hawk or something, or a mohawk or something. But yeah, same dude. And Moose has just shown incredible growth. And he did make a point about Moose's moveset. He has always delivered. I always say Moose delivers for the pay-per-views is because he knows that moves matter and the way you do moves matter. And he didn't do the Spanish fly off the top rope on a episode of BTI,
Right.
So, yeah, everything he said was spot on.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, you nailed it. You nailed the Critical Sting. I gotta tell you nailed it. That's exactly it. That's exactly the truth. And yet and still, people still look at Brian Cage, and the first thing they do is think top guy. And so whatever, he's wearing some camouflage, but now that he's standing next to some real top guys, he's looking a little funny in the light. So it is what a TI is. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, we got a lot of comments on Cage here. Cage and David Penzer are sucking up most of the comments here. Lee, Impact Wrestling supporter, says, I think should leave Impact for a while and go back to Impact Wrestling because he did a lot as champion there. Only thing that's missing is the Impact World Tag Team Championship. Then he'll be a triple crowner. I think he's talking about Cage, in which case you are totally wrong, Lee, Impact Wrestling supporter. He did not do a lot there. I mean, he was okay. He was there. He was just there. Again, like they put Brian Cage in some big spots, but he didn't have a whole lot of memorable matches. I thought it really took Sami Callihan and Johnny Impact to drag some good matches out of him, and he was okay. He's a guy that lives off the potential of, you look at him and you think of what he could be, not necessarily what he actually delivers.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, let's see. Alex Gaxheri, I'm sorry, not Alex. Alton Gaxheri says, I like David Penzer. He has a big name and he was in WCW and the Monday Night Wars, but the company needs to make all the title matches with announcement just like NXT did. Make the arena dark and spotlight the champion. Stop right there. Why would you steal NXT's championship beginning? Like, why would you do that? Like, Impact gets enough for not having their own personality. Why would you just rip off the way NXT starts their main events? Thanks for the comment, Alex. I'm sorry, Alton. Or you should be Alex with that comment. Brando Skiandra says, also for the he mentioned the Stranger Things being from he mentioned the Upside Down being a Stranger Things reference. All right, let's see what else we got.
Clearly, I'm out of the loop on Stranger Things.
I am also out of the loop on Stranger Things.
Clear.
I started trying to watch it, but I just never. I didn't stick with it.
So I was listening to Penzer this episode. I mean, a lot of the times he doesn't say where the wrestler's from, and that's kind of a big part of the entrance. Because the entrance should be long. You can't just be like, coming to the ring, Decay. Like, that's indie shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's some of the stuff I'm talking about where maybe it's not totally his fault, but it just doesn't sound big fight when people just, it's just like, hey, here he comes.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what we got here. Bland Skies 28 says, not a single video this past week on Impact's YouTube channel has gotten over 28,000 views. In just a few months, they were getting 100K to 200K for several videos a week. Do they not want people to watch their videos? Because if that's so, are they doing their he said, if that's so, then they're doing a great job of it. All right, this is right up your alley, BQ. Take that one.
So what I've been talking about for a long time was trying to put together some original content for YouTube that subscribers actually want to watch. But when a majority of the content is, hey, we're just trying to get people to click on the video, you don't build a loyal subscriber base with that. And now they're kind of to the point they're just kind of posting some highlights. Who the hell cares? Like, the real Impact fans watch the show. Now, there's some people who can't, but for the most part, I don't believe it's on Twitch anymore, so it's on YouTube. It's on Impact Plus pretty quickly afterwards. You don't even have to pay for that version, so it's not difficult to watch the show now. So who are they posting the damn clips for? That being said, I feel like the opening to the show takes too long. I timed it this week, and it was about a minute and a half before any kind of commentary happened, which isn't too bad. But last week it went well over 2 minutes. I was just like, oh my god, like, let's get to the point here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been saying this for a long time. The content is not good on the channel. You have not tried to do anything original that people actually want to watch. So then people aren't watching, and YouTube does penalize you for, if your subscribers are not watching, they will not spread your videos. And it is showing here that they are not spreading organically on YouTube. They're not popping up in recommended videos because no one's watching them on the channel. They're not feeding their subscriber base with content that they want to watch.
Right. Okay. Packed Entertainment says, I can't wait for Knockouts Knockdown. Christy Hemme and Gail Kim teased many surprise appearances. They also said Mercedes Martinez, Lady Frost, Renee Michelle, and a former Knockouts champion will definitely show up. So I can't wait to see who shows up. I hope the Iconics show up. What do you think here?
God, I hope so too. As far as a former Knockouts champion, I said this last week on YouTube, or I guess earlier this week. There's no champion I could think that could pop me at this point that is available. But that doesn't mean Allison Kay might not show up. Brooke Tessmacher is probably the biggest like pop you'll probably get. But aside from that, maybe Maria Kanellis shows up. No, you know what? Because they don't have anything really going with the Ring of Honor yet. I would say is a possibility, like it could be Allison Kay.
That'd be cool.
I really don't know who else it could honestly be. Taryn Terrell, maybe. Yeah. She doesn't wrestle a whole lot in NWA. Like she's more of a manager, but she does wrestle sometimes. So I don't know. I think it's a foregone conclusion we're gonna see ODB there. I willing to bet money. And I guess Lady Frost, she posted on Twitter that she was a baby face for this. Like, dude, she's a great heel. She's an amazing heel. Like, that's a missed opportunity not to have her show up as a heel. Yeah. I'm very excited about it. Melissa Santos is going to be the ring announcer. Who, I mean, I think I wish she would stick around and do it. Period. Vita Scott's going to do the play-by-play, which I think she's excellent in commentary. And then I don't know what the hell Christy Hemi's going to do besides be smoking hot. In real life, man, she is like there's some chicks, I'm not going to say who, that when I see them in real life, I'm like, she's not as pretty as she is on TV. Like Christy Hemme is like flawless, dude.
Is it Nyla Rose? You're talking about Nyla Rose?
Yeah. Nice balls. Yeah.
I was kidding. All right. Let's see. CFCB says EC3 is greater than Cage. Excited to go to Impact this week. I'll make you proud, TW and Boo Perazzo. There you go. Boo her. Boo her. Boo.
Yeah.
Perazzo. Boo. You're a despicable heel. Boo. To. All right. Let's see.
I didn't pose a question at the top of this episode, so I'll make sure next week to do that.
All right. Let's see. With Saul Valentin also wanted to comment and let us know that Rosemary's Upside Down is a reference to Stranger Things. Okay, we get it. I'm sorry.
No, I know. I feel so foolish.
Let's see. Okay, here's a good one. Blur Siders 93 says AEW hasn't even had a single Impact talent on besides the Goof Brothers in AEW. No way is AEW going to promote an Impact pay-per-view. AEW fans don't watch Impact. The only time they were somewhat interested was when Omega was Impact champion. They are not going to buy an Impact pay-per-view based on Christian Cage being a champion. All right. Well, I don't doubt that, you know. I mean, like I think there's a lot of people who are very much, I don't really understand this. It's just not the way my brain thinks, but it's like the cool thing to pick on Impact, right? Like Impact is like the wrestling company that it's cool to pick on. So people just, won't even like admit that they like it or know something from it. And,
right.
And conversely, people are much more comfortable giving AEW a chance because you can see lots of people like it, right? So what that means, I don't know. I don't care. All right, let's see. Gerard Ryan says, I would add that ring announcer thing as part of my pitch to Bray Wyatt. His wife can come in and do the ring announcing, or as you mentioned, Melissa Santos as well. What you got?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. She's a free agent. As I said, I would like to see Melissa stick around, but I really think they could benefit from like a hot female ring announcer. I mean, you know, it's kind of like when I would watch Ring of Honor and they had that real like fat lead referee. I'm just like, what am I watching, dude? Like, what company? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah. All right, here we go. Best Lame 95 says the lack of star powered Impact, along with Impact being on a network that most fans don't have, isn't going to allow them to use bigger arenas. If they were on a network as big as Spike TV or Paramount, that would help them gain new fans, and then they can use bigger arenas. You know, I don't agree. I mean, I don't disagree that, you know, a larger network, a network with more distribution would put it in front of more eyeballs, which would, you know, have some sort of effect on attendance. I totally agree with that. If more people see it, more people will come. I get that. But I don't know, man. Like I said, I think if they do a good job of marketing, like think about it like this, right? Your local wrestling promoter, maybe not your local, but in your area, there's a successful wrestling promoter that gets people to come out to shows frequently, you know, a couple of times a year. And they do it by just marketing the event and not so much, hey, these wrestlers are on TV. And so it can be done. Okay. If Impact wanted to play a smaller arena, a 5,000 seat arena, and, you know, maybe get 2,500 or 3,000, they could set it up, book it, and just promote the hell out of it. I guarantee you there is someone in Vegas or in the Vegas area whose job it is to promote live events. And they will, matter of fact, Eric Bischoff talks all the time about how one of the biggest things he was able to do at WCW was he connected with a guy who booked concerts, and they started helping WCW book large venues for the Monday Nitros. So it's a thing. There's people whose job it is to do this. So I don't think they need to be on a bigger network to get more fans. They just got to promote it right.
We got Glory Pro here in Illinois. Michael Elgin used to run it. He doesn't anymore. He had sold it off after everything he was going through a couple years ago. I went to one show. I've been to a few shows, and it was always very packed. There was one, dude. I mean, there was a good. I'm being a good 600 to 800 people at this place, you know. And I went to. There's one in Tennessee, Tried and True Pro, that they did an Impact Plus show when they did the Support the Troops show a couple years ago on Impact Plus or Twitch. They partnered with them. I went to one of their shows, man. There was an easy like 1,200 people in the crowd. Like, I mean, this shit looked like a damn pay-per-view in a sense, you know. So it is possible, and a lot of those people are from Impact on the card.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Last one. Silver Jackson says Impact Wrestling needs to learn from this so-called partnership with AEW. AEW is using them to get to the top. So skip the dang partnership. It's not no partnership, only to steal fans from Impact Wrestling to go over to AEW. But me personally, I don't watch AEW except the exception of seeing Christian versus Kenny Omega to take the title off him and bring it home back to Impact. It's time for Impact to make that big and huge splash and sign Bray Wyatt. I heard they aggressively going after Bray, so it is not set in stone. He is signed to AEW. All right, a lot to unpack there. Yeah, so I talked earlier about the AEW partnership with Impact, and I think the thing that people got to realize, this was a financial success for Impact. It's not debatable. They sold more pay-per-views. They got more interest on their product. This was a financial success for Impact, and that is why this partnership has been good for Impact. Like, it is what it is. I'd be willing to bet if you were able to find the amount of impressions Impact Wrestling was making on social media based off of this feud, I think you'd see that number is significantly higher than what it normally does. And I bet you all the people around you who were talking greasy about Impact for this AEW relationship are barely talking about it now because that relationship is not as prominent as it once was.
I just think a lot of fans who are predominantly Impact fans wanted to see the companies on the same level, but they're not on the same level. That being said, we do want, it would have nice to see Rich Swann not get his ass kicked every week, and it would be nice, yes, but it is not on AEW's level. I know that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow because it used to be that company. It used to be 1 million viewers. It used to be on Spike TV. It used to have all these dudes. That's just not where we're at anymore. And trust me, it has helped Impact. Maybe in a way that we don't see it, but it has helped them.
Yeah. Totally agree. All right, so that's it for the questions. Please drop your questions below. BQ, did you have a question you want to drop out to the audience?
No, because I wasn't prepared for it.
All right.
I will be next episode. I'll make sure.
Do your homework.
I will.
All right, everybody. So like I said, drop your comments, drop your name and where you're from in the comment section below. And we would love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. That's all we got for this week. BQ, tell the people where they can find you on social.
Hit me at BQ Speaks, Twitter, and really there. I guess you could on Instagram if you want. It's my personal account. And then at the Impact Lounge on Instagram and Twitter.
You can find me at TW Talking About on your social media of choice. And you can follow my podcast page at Talking About Pod. And tweet me. I tweet back. Follow me, tweet me, live tweet events, tweet about Monday Night Raw, tweet about AEW Dark, tweet about, Dynamite, SmackDown, anything you want to. I love talking about wrestling. It's a big fun thing. That's why I do this podcast. No matter how you're consuming this show, okay, whether you listen to the podcast or watching it on YouTube, listen to it on SoundCloud, however you are consuming this podcast, make sure you share it with somebody, drop it on somebody's page, email it to somebody, drop it in their comments, text it to somebody. Let's bring more people into the conversation. Tell a friend to tell a friend. I'm TW for BQ. Peace.